Welcome to working with InDesign and the construction of an advertorial editorial style illustration. So here we go. Here's an example, a little bit of a header copy here. There's a gutter in here and some space, and of course the intro is slightly different to the body copy. Only a small amount here, but it's just an indication of a launch or article relating to some piece of design that's been put together, in this case a concept vehicle with 3D added into a background photograph. So let's get into how this goes together. You will notice that I've just got it up in here in the workspace, which is typography. So when you're working with workspaces, just back in here you're going to see typography, and there's a range of workspaces that you can actually work with here. For example, digital publishing, for example, something we'll get onto a little bit later in another video, and also interactive. But anyway, just to make this nice and easy initially, just going to stay with typography. Of course, you can swap around any of these as you're going through your workflow as well. So you will notice that we're going to work with RGB for everything. And this is a print-based output, and it'll be CMYK, but we'll get to that at the end when we convert it through PDF and Acrobat, and that's when we're going to do the transition to the right color format that we want. Just up the top here, we have just a range of color palette, not color palettes, but tools. We've got the pointer tool here, we've got the direct selection tool, we've just sort of got the page tool. Now we're not going to use all these things, including the content collector. We're just going to work with some nice simple images in this one. But just quickly, basically to get your idea around and how you can put most of these together. Some other tutorials, particularly when we're getting a little bit more interactive, will use some of these other tools. Now these tools and this program InDesign works for both print and digital output, so we're going to be looking at ways of working with it, and this first project is just all about print and all about layout. Now you will notice just down here, if I just click on this preview here, we can have different states here. We're in preview mode. I can click to basically bleed mode, and this is where the images bleed outside the edge. This is really, really important for doing anything for print. And just back down here, we just have normal mode, which just sort of shows how we're putting it together. And you see that I've made this up with columns and guides and grids. So this is what we're going to do. And we're going to use a lot of automatic functions, including some new functions. This is actually the latest InDesign, which is, or for this video anyway, which is 2021. So without further ado, we can get into this. So the next part of this will just take you through how to set it all up and add your content into it. Okay, so let's build this layout. Just before I start, I'm in typography in the workspace up here, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come down and just have a look at the layers. So just with the layers, I've got just a few layers, and really divide up your layers so you keep it simple, so anything can be safe and locked by clicking on a lock like so, and you can see things just by turning things off. Now if there's anything you want to do right from the outset, if you want to move any object, so just for example, if I unlock all of these layers here at the moment, so they're all available, and if I go and click on, say, any object here, this just happens to be my little strap line, my positional statement, and the graphic logo, if you will, of my piece, and it shows you that there it is, this little image at the bottom. Could label it something else, but I've just labeled it image. If you ever want to move something, just click on that little square dot and just drag it up like so. And all of a sudden you see it's changed color, and it's now up on that top layer. So I can prove that just by turning it on or off. So now if I want to bring it back, there it is. Oops, make sure you do click it first, and I can just bring it back and drop it there. And again, if I turn it on or off, by the eye that is, there you can see that it's on or off, and it's sort of staying with all those images. Okay, so let's go and build ourselves a layout just to show you how this works. Now what I am going to do is, I've written some copy here, and you might need to do this with the copy that you're writing for all of your text, etc. But at the moment, most of it is just lorem ipsum, sometimes referred to as just Greeking or Latin text. Anyway, So what I'm going to do is just to initially set that up, I'll come back and I'm just going to keep this sort of available for me for my text, but I just need to make sure that I'm putting this together in the correct format. Now let's have a look at the size for a start. So if I come down here just to document setup, and basically it's just an A4. Now most magazines are not A4, so just look carefully at your mechanicals or the requirements that you need to output it as, but in this case, in this example, is just using A4. Now you'll notice one other different thing here is that I've got page 2 and I've got start page 2 and I've got facing pages. Now normally by default, just to show you how this works, if I just click off facing pages, and you can see here, if I just go and scroll down, if I think I can, no I can't, so I'm just going to go OK, and what it's done is actually not facing pages, but it's 2 pages. Okay, so if I just undo that, and it'll take us back there. Let's just have a look at that again, and it's something you have to be really careful about when you're setting up, but we just want 2 pages and no more, and facing pages. So I'll click facing pages again, so let's just go to document setup, and I'm going to have 2 pages and facing as it is. Oh, of course, start page is page 1. I don't want to start on page 2, so that should be great. So I'll just go OK. What's happened here? So if I scroll down here, you see they're actually facing pages, but if I just move that over, these A4 pages that should have been a magazine DPS, which is double page spread, don't work that way, because everything has to be on the left hand side an even number, like 2, 4, 6, 8, and the right hand pages are basically odd numbers. So when you just want to do, I could actually have 3 pages and only use these last 2 and just make it 3 pages, but that's not a very good way to work. Let's just keep 2 pages there. So just the trick of doing that is just File, Document Setup again, and just make that 2 pages, and voila, it is back in how it should work, etc. So that's exactly what we're going to do, and we're just going to start setting up some grids. So let's go and do that. So let's see, File, I'm just going to go New Document. So come down here and New Document, which is up the top here, New Document. And it's just going to load in. I've got all these other sizes. Now really refer to or create a custom size specifically to what you need to do for your magazine. I've got down here 26 centimeters or 260 millimeters by 200. So that's probably more likely the magazine size, and I think what I might do is actually use that size for this, just to show you how easy it is to do. So this size, it's facing pages, start page I want 2 because it's an even number, and 2 pages total. So that's going to be good for what I'm going to do, but just write in there whatever you want. Now you can put in points, pickers, inches, and whatever. But if you are going to, I'll just go create, so we get this document coming up here. So here's our pages now. Remember, this is not A4, it's a slightly varied size, probably more like a local magazine size. But at any stage, if I just go into InDesign here and we go to preferences and just sort of, let's see, if we come down here and we look at, say, units and increments, you can actually go through here and set it up as whatever you want. So I've got millimeters. You may have centimeters, but I like to work in millimeters, and particularly with that sort of English format, centimeters and millimeters is the right format for me to work with there. So I'll just stay with that one. Now you might see the thing I am keeping in strokes, those, is point size and also line measurements, because that is generally a recognized way of working. I'm just leaving everything else default here. I'm not going to worry about all these other settings at this stage, just to get on with that. And great, we've got something set up here. Now, when I did go File, Page, or New Page, etc., if I just go, I'll just go New Page here just to show you how this works. You can actually go and set up your columns here if you wanted to. But I'm not going to worry about this because I just want to have more finesse and really control what I want. You can even preview it before you accept it as well, but I'm just going to close, because when you want to set that up, you simply can just go up to your layout and you'll see right at the top here, margins and columns. And we can actually start setting up the pages this way. Now, just before I do that, what I start setting up here, it's going to be the same on the left-hand side, the same on the right-hand side. I think you might be, in fact, let's go and have a look and see what this one was. As you see, 2 columns here, and sort of it's definitely a gutter measurement here, and 3 on the right-hand side. So how do you do that? Well, let's just go back to this document here. Of course, I haven't saved it yet either. And if I click on Pages, and just click on the grey area down here, and it deselects them, you can actually click on just one of the pages, left or right. Now, this is just 2 pages, and that's all I have to worry about, so that's what I'll probably work on. But if you want to do your master pages, when you're doing multiple documents, you can click up like that, and so every other page that's going to appear there, even if it's 1,000 pages, will always have this master guide look to it. This is where you set up auto page numbering as well. Not addressing it in this video, but nonetheless it's something very simple to do, and like you can search under type and you'll see an option down there. But anyway, let's just go through and click on this, and we're going to just go into our layout here, which is what we want. So columns here, and I just want to go 2, put this up there, and great, that's looking good. So I certainly want to increase my gutter there. I might make it to say 10 this case, and I just want to bring in everything. You can unclick the basically the link if you wanted to, but I'm just going to just increase all of this in here, and I just want them all even, just about 20. That looks pretty good. So go to 10, 2 columns. Oh no, didn't I want 3 columns? I think no, I did 2, just wanted 2 on this one, just to get this thing going. That'll be fine, and I'm going to put 3 on the right-hand side. So great, that's okay, and of course I've got preview on. Now the next thing I'm going to do is, you guessed it, just click back here, click on that one, and just come back up to your layout, and just go to your margins and columns, and I'm going to put 3 on this one. 3, there they are. Just going to bring this in a little bit, outside measurements. I might bring my gutter in a bit here. I might have it just 8 instead of the 10 for that one. You can do whatever you want. If it looks good, it's generally aesthetics is really what rules with this one. And consistency and good design and the aesthetics and visual look is really important. Okay, so let's see, that's pretty good, but of course I just want to bring this up. I could have just typed in 20, but that'll be great. There it is, and okay. So I've got my columns here. Now what I want to do is I just want to get some dummy copy just to get this going, etc. So I'm just going to go to my type tool here, and then I'll come up with the type tool, and I'm just going to just drag out, I'm not too worried about it, just to get some type here. You need to do a word count once you work out your style and point size and all that sort of thing. So I'm just dragging this across just to get a bit of a feel for it. And I'm just going to, probably got far too much copy anyway, so just under type here, you can come down here, fill with placeholder text, which is this Latin text, Greeking, or basically just concept sort of viewing text that nobody's going to really read. I don't think anybody can read that now, but anyway, nonetheless, there it is, and it's sort of a bit of a guide where you can start formatting things. So just initially, what I'm going to do is I do want to sort of set it up in my columns and grids. So I'm just going to basically just format this first one here in terms of just getting it going. I might just bring it down here a bit because maybe I want my image there. I've probably got far too much text, but not to worry. Also got hyphenation on at this stage. Now what you can do with when you're looking at the text, what's character or what's paragraph, etc. So basically at the moment, if I click on the text, I go back to, say, the type tool, and everything's a contextual menu, and this is reading your character. So basically whatever I choose there, I can change the character, etc. And then this one is the paragraph text, and that's got things like if you want to change or take off hyphenation by clicking this hyphenate here. So what I'm going to do is I'll come back and then turn off in just a minute, but I just want to get this sort of text format a little bit here. Now what you see is there's one error that's down here. This tells you a little handy little thing. So, and it's basically the error is just here. So what I want to do is I want to just sort of start filling out all these other text areas here. Well, what I can do is rather than just dragging, in fact, I can drag that like so, then I could click on this one and do the same. I'm just going to undo that. If you really just want to put everything out there nice and fast, especially when it's a big long document, what you can do is with our guides already in place, I can just hold my shift key and see what happens to that flowerable text. So if I just go and click this there you go. It's going to fill out all those columns, no matter if it's 100 pages or whatever. So just initially, it's a great way to start getting your text there. We need to start formatting and getting it right and getting rid of that hyphenation things at this stage as well. So I'm just going to do that, and we're just going to then we'll go into the next part of this as we start putting it together. So an easy way of just selecting text, if I just double click, well, I've just got something established, but I'll double click again. Oh, I triple clicked. So I'll double click, it clicks the word. If I triple click, it'll click the whole line. If you hold the shift key and then I click right to the end, it'll select everything. So what I want to do is just get rid of the hyphenation on my side, and you see hyphenation is I've got a little bit more text at this stage. So I'll just click outside of that. So we're basically good to go, and I've actually got no hidden text because this thing here at the end, this little box, is empty. So that's all good at the stage, although I do have more text than what I'm going to need at this stage as well. But we may drop the point size down, increase the leading, and that'll be just the next stage. So we'll get on to that, and once you're ready to go there, we'll get on and format it into the right sort of format. Okay, formatting. Right, what I think I might do is just get the sort of text I want first. So I'm going to just shift select all of the text there, and I'm going to just choose the right font. Of course, we're in character, not in character, in paragraph style here, so just go back up to your character there. So you get your contextual menu, and let's start thinking about what looks good. Well, I wouldn't go with 12 point. That's what Word does. That's a reading document in terms of something you'd print out from a Word document, so it's not recommended. I would say just drop it down 1 point size to 11, and that's going to look a little bit better, and you'll probably find that's what most magazines do. You can even go down a little bit further if you want, but just be careful on how far you go. Generally, press, as in newspapers, print about 7 point, and they use a serif text, little serifs on it, like this is a serif text, that makes it a little bit more legible, but magazines tend to go a little bit bigger and play with a little bit more space. Speaking of space, we're going to work with a bit of leading. Okay, so this is your type. I like to sort of pick mine up. I'm going to go all the way, if this is 11 point, to maybe 18 point. Now that's looking at really nice leading here, and because this is sort of a more technical sort of a sort of modernistic feel to it, I'm also going to go into sort of more of a modernistic sort of font, and I'm actually not going to have the serif for this one. Serif is a little bit easy to read generally, but just for a double page read, not too much text, that's going to be fine. So what I'm going to do is here is I'm going to change text, and what you can do is you can just click up here with point size and everything and just use your arrow keys, and it will just basically change based on just clicking your arrow key up or down, and it'll just go through, and it can give you an idea whatever's stored in your system. Now I've just zapped through here, and I've come across quite an interesting font there. I sort of quite like it actually. So you can actually just click down to reveal your fonts this way as well, and you can just scan through them this way at the same time. But I'm just going to come through and just use, I think I'm going to use a Myriad Pro, just a nice simple one. And if you can't find it, or you're trying to scroll down and see it and you still can't find it, well, there it is there. You can also just type it in the top as well. So I can just start typing Myriad, and it should start finding it. So I'm just going to come down to condense. No, just I just want just regular text at this stage. Yeah, and that's looking good. Now this is also an open type font, An open type font above there with a little tick in the cloud, it's where you download, and this is Adobe Cloud Fonts. But open type can have, believe it or not, an enormous range of aspects to the text, little nuances and swooshes and whatever, and glyphs, something we can look at a little bit later. But most fonts, which is just like a TT, which is true type, converted or to a format that actually came from the PCs, that works on both Mac and PC now, of course, is around 256 characters, and even a pro type or an open type standard is 256. But open type has the facility to work totally with this new 64-bit architecture, really up to 64,000 characters if you want to go that crazy. And it uses another one here which is called variable, which is even better. So something to demonstrate later, and it gives you total variability with the font. So that's sort of the latest thing. But I'm just going to go just a nice simple open type pro font, and there it is. So if I just click outside of this now, yeah, that's a lot cleaner. Now I've got some hidden text. I'm not going to worry about this, just initially getting the look and feel, and then I can really zoom in on how many words I have to write. Sometimes that's quite a good way of doing it that way. So let's see. What I'm going to do is I want to also bring in some images. So just going back to the pointer tool here, I can just click on the type and I can just drag it down. Now what you can do is also, just in the bar here, there's this ruler. See that ruler up here? It measures everything you want. It's like dragging a ruler around, and the ruler moves, and you can just take it into wherever you want. I'm just going to keep it up here for the time being, but what I do want is just start dragging down based on that ruler and just start working out maybe where my image is going to go. And I've got simple images for this one, but you can just bring your guides in like so to get it lined up. Now, I better save this document. It hasn't been saved yet, so that's rule number one, really. So if I just go save, and I'm just going to save this document into, gosh, I didn't even look where I was saving it to, but I'm just going to save it to downloads just for the time being here, and then we can get it sorted. So I'm just going to call it DPS2, that will be fine. Maybe I should do that caps actually. Double page spread, which is what it stands for. Okay, so I'm just going to save there, just for the time being. And now what I do need to do is I need to bring in my images. Now if I just minimize this down here, you'll see that I've actually got two Photoshop images, and these are already prepared in Photoshop. And of course that's what you'll be doing if I just open this up. I might just open it up in preview just so we can see it. So I'm just out of view here, not actually into Photoshop, but I'll bring these in just a little bit better so you can see it. So basically these files will just basically one background image shot, and the car designs were actually created in Adobe Dimensions. Very fast, easy program to work with, but just a flowerable style electric vehicle, all terrain. That's the idea, and of course then we've sort of got the logo, which has a clear cut around it. So and this will be done in Photoshop, and not worrying about doing that in Photoshop at the stage, but just really get your images. And we're putting this together just for this example anyway. So, which is a Kiwi bubble car, and basically big thing about this is it's fully enclosed and hyper sealed, fantastic filtration, and especially in the environment of COVID, the bubble protection. That's sort of the play on that one. So anyway, here's these two images here. So what I need to do is I need to basically bring them in. So if we just go back, in fact I should just go back and show you this first document. This was the initial document here, and it's just saved to the bubble car spread layout. Now I've saved mine in a different area here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to locate those images, and I'm going to show you how we sort of start packaging up as well. So let's go back to our InDesign document just there. You can click on InDesign, and that should just bring it back up. And let's go through and just place those images in there. Now, I should have put everything together and saved this to the right folder, but I didn't. And I've done that sort of reason because we're going to package things up as I mentioned. So let's just go File, and I'm not dragging it in, I'm placing it. Now you notice I was using the Photoshop images. They were squashed down to keep them a reasonable size, but they also have transparency in them. But don't work with JPEGs. You could work with a high quality ping, something that's going to not be a lossy format, doesn't lose data. JPEGs are great for keeping it small, but when you're working on print stuff, really stay with Photoshop. Works great, bring Photoshop images in, and that's what you should do so there's no loss of data in any way. So let's go File, Place, and that's how it should be coming in as well, or Command D. So if I place them in there, I'm just going to do a quick search. Bubble car, let's hit, hopefully that comes up without too much hassle. And I'll just go bubble once again. Oops, and that should be on this Mac. And there you go, it's found them. Okay, so there's my two images that I want to bring in here. And basically that's exactly what I'm going to do, just so I get them both in at this stage. Now you notice as I mentioned, I'm certainly not in the right order and I'm not saved in the right folder, and because I want to coordinate everything, including my right fonts as well as I put this together. So I'm just going to select both of them, just hold the Shift, or I can hold the Command key as well. The Command key is good if you want to, say, select a range of different things, and then you can deselect different things as well by Command key. But really all I want is, I don't want this one, so I'm just going to just get those two top ones and bring them in because that was a PDF file. So let's just go Open, and it should be loaded up with my cursor with multiple objects here. So what I can do is, the first one is just that background image. So wow, what didn't I do? I didn't put bleed in this document, did I? And that's a big thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag that basically a little bit bigger than the image here. And so we've just got that outside there. And that's probably about right actually. And there's my first image. I'm just going to drag and just let go where my logo is going to go, etc. So that was pretty easy. So I'm just going to save that now. Okay. So what we have to do is just work out, is this correct for bleed? There's no bleed put into this document. So how do I do that? Now when you set up the document, because if you've got any images that are going out the outside, it must have a bleed or bleedable image so that when it gets cut by the guillotine, you won't leave little white lines. Because what quite often happens is if you get it printed and it looks like that with this horrible white line, the last thing you want. So I'm going to take it out the side there. Now you might notice when I dragged it in, I'm still cropping the image. And I'll just undo that. What you do when you don't want that to happen is you just hold your Command key on the Mac and Shift key, and then I can constrain it and it will just reduce. Alternatively, you have another tool here, it's the freeform tool, and you can just click in that and it will just drag, hold the Shift key just to constrain it, and that'll work fine as well. But most of the time you're using the pointer tool, and so you hold the Command key and that just establishes all of that. So let's just go back and get our document bleed up here. Let's see, document presets, no, we want document setup. Great, I'll click on that. Let's see, bleeds, okay. So we want to put a bleed here. Remember we set up in our preferences were all millimeters. If it was centimeters, it would be 0.3 is because 3 millimeters is generally the bleed you use for magazines. Okay, but since it's millimeters, I don't have to go 0.3, I'll just go 3, and I want it to all be clipped together, so it's all linked up, and 3, and great, that's in there now. Now there's also a slug area, and the slug, I'm just going to give you a demonstration. So just go 30 there, and I'm just basically got the preview on there. It should be showing it. No, I can't really click down here, but I've got 30 for the slug, and it's just the top, and maybe I should just do that, not for this one. I'll delete that, but I'll do it for the bottom, and I'll make this 30, just so you can see what happens there. And I'm just going to go OK. Now see, there's that bleed mark that goes around the outside, and if I drag it down here, there's also a big mark down the bottom. Now what happens with the slug area is if I just come over to this little drop down menu just here, we have normal view, preview mode. I'm going to go into preview mode, and this is nothing here, there's no bleed, even though it goes outside and there is bleed. I can click on my bleed mark, and now it's got full bleed in there. And this one here is the slug, and that shows the slug. This is where you normally put agency or design house information. Could be the logos or advertisement 11654, which was in reference to the placement that you're putting together for this ad, etc. And it's quite often agency information. So in this case, I don't want anything for that, but it's a great place to put in when you've got an agency doing lots and lots of jobs, so you always have your ID on there. So let's just go back and just going to turn this one off. So we're going to go back to document setup again, and we definitely don't want slug on this one, but we do want the 3mm bleed. So I'm just going to delete that, so it's back to 0, 3mm bleed all the way around, and OK. And there it is, and I know it's basically fine because there's my bleed when I turn it on and it shows the bleed. And I need to make sure, hold my command key and shift key, that actually does go right out to the edge there. So I'll just check that again. Okay, so just going to drag that out, and it should be just taking out there what didn't work with that image. Just bring it in there. Okay. Oh, and that's because I've dragged it out, but there was nothing there. So I've dragged it up beyond the size of the image. So I'm just going to drag that back in just to fit it there, which is great. Oops, and make sure it's positioned properly. Now, if you start destroying this, what I've done, you can just come up to the top here. So it's quite handy that I've done that, really. And this is different things just where you can center your contents, fit your frame to contents, or fit contents to frame. I don't want to distort the image, so I want to fit my frame to content, and it just kicks it back. So whatever you do, you're safe, etc. there. So I just want to, of course, I'm just going to move that down there, make sure that my image is definitely, needs to be perhaps a little bit bigger than that, and I'm just going to drag that, oops, and it didn't drag with the image, which I didn't do there. I'm just going to, what am I on? The freeform tool, which I shouldn't hold my command key, I should just drag it. Okay, so easy mistake there. So I'm just going to go back to the pointer tool. Remember, you hold your command key and shift key, so you can really easily do that. I'm just going to take it out to there like so, and in fact even just a little bit bigger, just to make sure that, yeah, it's fully there. Now if you go a bit further, it doesn't really matter, but that's because that's what's recording as the bleed. Now what I'm going to do is just bring that up a little bit, because I don't need, see, it doesn't matter if it's gone too much at the top, but as long as I'm fulfilling all my bleed requirements. So that's perfect. Okay, so just down the bottom here, I'm just going to bring in my logo, and I might size it up to fit, which in this case, maybe I want to just take this below where the type's going to fit, so I get that little extra flick that still fits sort of within the image area. We have basically 3 parts to working here, so I'm just going to come back here and just show you when we go back to the normal view. So there's my basically guides, etc. But there's 3 parts to sort of working. We have our bleed, we have our trim, and we have our image area, or sometimes called the live type area, where you don't want to take type out to the edge just in case it gets clipped off. Still lots of room here, and sort of as part of the design I do want to keep my Kiwi bubble card just to give it more emphasis, so it goes outside of that. Now you will notice that I've actually pretty much sized all the imagery in Photoshop to fit the magazine I want. It can be a little bit bigger. You don't really want to go smaller, but you know, because you can scale down just a little bit, but you certainly want it to be 300 DPI and a really great resolution. So that's fine for now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to start cropping down my type to get it fitting a little bit better. So see, this is where I put the line to work with before, and I'm just going to drag that down to line that up. And basically I can do the same with this one, just to get everything fitting. Now this is sort of like the 2/3, 1/3 rule, which was created by DDB Needham, Dane and Bernbach, who are responsible for basically the VW design. And they really invented advertising, actually, and they really employed this rule of a 2/3 image, basically 1/3 text, etc., about really giving dominance and readability, but really good, strong text, not too much of it, with a really strong image. So within your design, you have to think about, what is it you want to say. It's actually really hard to limit your text down to just get the right sort of words, etc. So I'm just going to save this now. Now we still have our files and links all over different places. I'm going to address that in just a short bit. But what's important to do here is just start getting your text. So I'm just going to bring that up. And just so I'm having it fitting just nicely. Now what I want to do is probably got miles too much text there, and I can just say delete off there, and then it's going to give me a good idea of really how much text I have to write for it. Great. Okay, now one thing I want to do now is I want to give it some more intense intro copy. And I'm just going to put a major headline that's up the top here. And I'm going to put this text onto a path. So making sure that's saved now. So that once you've sort of got to something that's reasonably well put together, we're going to now format it with our headline and copy, things like that, in order to give it a little bit more clarity and meaning. But yeah, I'm starting to feel that that's not looking too bad for a nice, clean, simple design. So putting some type in, I'm just going to refer back to my first image here, and we've got a few graphics on the side, and you see there's even less copy here, etc. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a little bit of a graphic like that. I'm just going to do things a little bit differently, just to sort of give it a bit of a feel. But what I want to do is, with this biosphere type electric car on wheels sort of thing, I'm just going to do something like this. So a biosphere on wheels, etc. So how do you do text on a path? So essentially, if we just go back to our version up here. Now remember, this is slightly smaller, this magazine advertorial article, and it's basically more in line with really what the magazine size would be. Now you'll see also this would be really ideally a center spread, but really you can run type across if it's a center spread, but if it's a normal article, these pages will appear on and printed different ways and just sort of stapled together, if you will, within the binding format. So what you're going to need to do is just make sure that anything where there's a gutter through here, especially when pages fold, that you're not going to have text right up to the edge, unless it's, say, really big bold text, which is not going to matter. So just, this big gutter between the two to make it work more effectively when that happens. Center page spread you can be a little bit more lenient with, but you pay more for that, by the way. So let's go and put this together anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put text on a path here. So just with my tools down here, I want something I can control. So I'm going to go and click on my pen tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a nice clean path over here. And what you might be starting to find that it could start getting a little bit cluttered. Not too cluttered at the stage for a nice simple design. If I just look on the layers here, you'll notice that here's a layer. I might just start dividing these out a little bit right now. So I'm going to click on this one, and I'm just going to really call it image. Now you can have as many layers called whatever you want, but or I could, when I say image, it could be images, because I think I'll put them both there, including the logo as well. But anyway, nonetheless, I'm just going to go OK. I'm going to do another layer now, and I'm going to call it type. So this one is going to be nice and simple, and type, etc. So just with this to start clearing things up so I don't actually click on too many things, is that I'm just going to shift select to get all my type there, and so it's all selected, and I'm just going to move that up to there, so it's now on the type layer. So I can turn the eye off, and you see, yes, that definitely works fine. Okay, it means that I can actually lock my layer, which has got the image on it, to do my type effect. Now I could have another layer for this as well, but 2 layers at the stage is fine. So I'm just going to come back down to my pen tool, and this is a tool to be really good and really handy at using, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click, and I'm going to start dragging, you know, just a bit of a curve here, and I'm just going to click. Now, second click, once you've done a curve, will automatically just re-establish that curve, like so. And that's sort of fine. That's exactly what I want there. Now, if you want to change these at any stage, you'll see just under this tool you can have, you can delete points off, you can add extra points in there, but the rule of thumb is least points possible and really use curves nicely. But if I click on that and I just click on the alter the point, it just goes back to a sharp point. But if I click on it again and drag it, I can actually get my curve back. Okay. So you can just alter this as much as you like to get exactly the ideal effect that you want there. And we can't see anything at this stage. So I sort of might like to have a line there. If you don't want any line or strokes or effects, then you're going to make that invisible, but it's good to have a line or a stroke initially just so you can see it. So let's see if we go down here, there's stroke, and I'm just going to give it just a bit of a weight here. And there it is, you can see it appearing here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what I did before, and I've taken, I think, about 4 strokes, and you can actually choose different things here, and you can click on it, and then you can sort of play around with the effects, and even color gap here if you wanted something to appear in the gap as well. So something for you to experiment with, and this does a ton of things. And there's even some extra things that you can, well, in fact, even got a tint as well. But there's extra things that we'll look at later when you can actually use little gems, if you will, or Easter eggs in there at the same time. But this program has a few hidden things at the same time. But anyway, I might even increase that a bit more. That's really not, that's more like what I wanted. And of course, I don't want that color. So I'm just going to click on my swatches up here and just give it just a stroke color. Oh, that's not the stroke color. What did I do wrong here? Just click up here and change it. And just with the fill there, we don't want that fill, so we just click on none. So you can do that down here as well, just down there. So either way you want to do that. Now anyway, I'm just going to put my text on here, and if I just hold my text over, and if you have it selected, it should actually sort of find it. So let's just try that, and we're just going to bring it in there. But what it's trying to do when you see that circle, if it was a box, it would go inside, or if you create a shape, it will actually start doing the text inside. So that's not what I want. So, oh, there's a little shape hint or a fly out hint. Type on a path. So let's go and click on that. And now you see that little path icon. So if I click there, and basically it should start establishing itself. So what did I call it? Biosphere on wheels, I think. On wheels. That will do, and I'm not going to worry about the ... And you might, I know what you might be saying, that's probably not the best that you want, so let's basically increase the type size there. So I'll just stay with 30 point at this stage, and I'm going to just get something a little bit funkier. Let's see what we've got, something that's nice and bold. And oh, that's sort of interesting. No, not really what I want. I don't want something condensed. I want it to be more expanded here. So we can just take it down until we see something that's more applicable to what you want to do. And I think I'm going to go a little bit different. And I might use something that's called Rockwell, which is called a slab font. Give it some real, sort of got a serif, but nonetheless it's, here it is, yeah. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. And see, how does it? No, I think I'll stay with this one. Something really extra bold. And great, so I'm on that now. Great. So there it is. Now, with this, you can play around with expanding it, and we can come up to little things while it's still selected here. And a good way of doing that is just playing with it, sort of tracking a little bit here, and I might say 75. You can put any value in there you want, but I'm just going to make it 100 there. Okay, and that's not too bad, but what's happening there? See how it's starting to go into the gutter? So what I might do is I might actually bring it back just a little bit, so it's not going to fit there, but I might say I could make that sort of 80. Oh, I've got to try 75. Yeah, that's a little bit better, but I'm also going to go to my pointer tool and just bring that back here a little bit. Just double click on that and obviously just give it something that's going to be more applicable cover or color. Okay. So, okay, it's a lot more vibrant than the other one, but I'm just going to stay with that for the sake of putting this together anyway. But now we can sort of see that you're starting to make shapes or make a shape of the object, that is. So great, that's there. Now I can put some other circles in and other effects. In fact, what I might do is just introduce one into the side here. So I'm just going to go and get a simple shape here, and I'm just going to hold my Option key and Shift key because I want to take the circle out from the center. If I don't have my Option key, it'll just scale from where I was, and that might be fine, but I just want to bring it in like so, and I'm just going to give it a color. So there's the fill. Great, I want to fill. I'm just going to go blue for this one and just bring that in, and just so it crops out the side there. And what I also want to do is just crop the text around the edge of this a little bit. So in fact, maybe I'll bring it a bit further over, maybe just so we've got a little bit of text there. So we have to make sure that it sort of does read all right. Now I could have the text going over that, but and in fact I could actually go up to my window up here, and I could play with some of the effects. If I bring this up and just get the effects panel, and here I just want to make a little bit sort of transparent. Okay, so that's good. In fact, maybe that sort of works a little bit with the text here. But what you can also do is I can actually copy this one, or I can Option drag it or make a new one. I'm just going to go Option drag, and that actually creates a new one there. And so you're actually getting sort of an overlay effect. I'm just going to hold my Shift key just to constrain it. Okay, so that's starting to get a little shape in there, maybe a bit smaller again. So Shift key to restrain it. And what I'm going to do, you'll see just under this object tool, you can come down to pathfinder, and you can actually sort of intersect, or you can cut holes in it. So I could actually add, and it'll become one shape. What I'm going to do with this one is, or you can actually exclude overlap as well, so you only get the center part. So you can do lots of things with this. This used to be only available in Illustrator, but what I'm going to do with this one, I'm just going to subtract it, just to make it a little bit different anyway. And there you go, it's subtracted, which I'm sort of starting to like the effect of that a little bit more. So I'll just bring that in like so, but it's certainly not helping the legibility of the type. So as I said, I could bring lots more on these and make this up, but I'm just going to keep it nice and simple at this stage. And I'm going to select on this one, and I'm going to apply a text wrap. So it might be a little bit pointy over there. I can also rotate it around just a little bit. That's probably going to work better actually. And then I can come along and I have to look for something called a text wrap, and there it is, because we're in the type menu. So I click on the text wrap. The one that I really want to do is basically wrap around the shape of the object. And there you go. And in fact, we can just increase it a little bit, and you see that line coming out there? And until it starts looking quite good. And there it is. Now there is a new tool in here. When you, even with objects, you can select on them and it will do a text wrap, and basically it will give the ability, if it's the right object, where you can actually find the object even within a photograph, and it will locate that shape and do it all for you. So just like that created the shape for you, it'll do it with even photographs. So that's just a new feature. I can't show you that because of the way I've done it, but perhaps I could actually click on this image. If I just unlock it, just to show you quickly, I better save it. Of course, a lot in this program. And just in the layers here, of course, I'll just unlock that layer. It was locked at the moment. And if I just clicked on that, I just don't want to move it. And we basically did the same thing with text wrap. And I click on this text wrap. You'll see this extra thing, and it's called select object. So what I have to do is just if I click on like so, you actually select the object there. it might be a bit tricky with 2 objects in there and see which one's going to find. And actually you can come down here and select subject. And it hasn't done the best job with this one, but you see how it's actually trying to find the edges, and it does this sort of fuzzy logic. Sometimes works great, and then you can of course just increase the leading, and then the type will stay around with it. Actually, it did this one really, really well, not so effectively on this one. So I could just delete that one and it'll just work with that object, just because there was 2 objects in the page. So this is a clever new tool, so something worth experimenting with as well. So I don't want that one, because I just want to keep this all simple. Just going to go undo, and so it's not selected there, and it's back in its position there, and great, so we're good at this stage. I might just put a little bit of intro copy in with this one, which I just want this to be a little more intense in what it's going to say here, just more of an introduction. Subhead type copy, not necessarily subhead here, but I'm just going to pick it up just a little bit with, might even stay with the same type, see how that looks, but I certainly might change it to something like semi-bold italic. I'll try that one. Okay, and a little bit too much here. As I say, I'm just really looking at the design at this stage, and oh, that's sort of quite good. I might just go ... and just give it a bit of space here to carry that look and feel on with a document. So essentially, we've still got some extra hidden text here. So I'm just going to delete this back off a little bit. And it's, the beauty of doing this first, it really does give you an idea of how much, this is how I want it to look, and therefore how much text do we write for it. We don't always have the copy and have to squeeze it in there. Sometimes we can have design first, and that will give the right look and feel. Just bring a bit more up there. There it is. And then I'm just going to finish with, maybe I'll just use some other text there, and copy that, and I'm just going to put a full stop there and put that text in there, and just give it one more return, and I'm just going to make that a little bit bold, and maybe that same style, just to finish off with it there. So we've got our bleed. I'm just going to save that, and we've got everything in place here, but it's all mixed all over the place. So that's, as I mentioned before, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come down here, and you're going to see something called package. So you should really work and put everything in the right folder to begin with, but sometimes it just doesn't always work that way. So if we package it, it's going to package all the fonts and everything. So wherever you move this around, it's going to stay together. So we have the fonts and everything being itemized here, the links and all that sort of thing that's found, and hopefully nothing's inaccessible, which is good, great information. So I'm going to go package, and I'm going to save this straight to my downloads folder, and it's going to be called DPS2 folder. So I'll package that up, and it's just giving me information about the laws of fonts, etc. But this is just for me, so I'm just going to go OK, and it's actually making a new document. Now there's one other advantage of doing it this way as well. If you have any little PostScript errors and some font issues from time to time, this will bring everything together and takes out of the system folder and things like that, and actually can solve and correct problems quite a bit. So something really worthwhile doing. But the main thing is now you've got that document in one folder. So I'm just going to just bring a folder in here just to show you where that is. I think it was downloads actually, wasn't it? And there's the DPS folder, and there's everything linked up. So it's all there. I'll just go to a larger view. So as you see, we've got everything that we wanted for this particular document. By the way, it's also made a PDF. But what's wrong with this PDF? I open up. So it's just opening them to Acrobat at the moment, and it still does this by default when you package it up. And I'll just Command 0 just to fit that in space. Maybe make it a bit small again, minus it down a bit. And there you are. But it's got 2 pages in the document, and that would sort of work. Well, actually, no, we want trim marks as well on it, but we wanted everything to be together. So let's see how I resolve this, just to finish it off. So I'm just going to just minimize that for the time being. And now we're good to go. We've got our bleed. Now, what you can do with preview, we can just go and preview it like so. Or you can actually, as long as you don't have your type selected, you can just go with a W key and that just jumps backwards and forwards. So W, 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 and you get a really good look to see that, yeah, I'm really sort of happy with the way that's looking, really clean, really simple. Obviously need to write the right text for it, but now I know how much I want to write and we've got the look and feel as we want it to be. So I'll just go W once more, just into the artwork mode, make sure it's saved. Remember, this is a whole new document when we package it up. It's also opened that or kept that same document open up. So this is the one we're working on now from now on with all those fonts saved there as well. So what are we going to do? We're going to now just output it as artwork. So File, we're going to come down here and what we want to do is we want to output it as a PDF. So go to the Adobe PDF presets, and as you were probably aware, and what I mentioned right at the start, we're in RGB mode just so we get maximum effect with, especially when we're working in Photoshop. We brought everything in as RGB, but we're going to output as a press quality. Okay, so what we want to do is come down here. Is there something that says press quality? And there is. There's one that's going to convert everything to CMYK, and it's called press quality. Now we've got other versions here for the different printers, and from PDF X1A, which will squash it down and work with the lowest common denominator, if you will. But for the sake of this one, we want to stay with reusable type artwork in a transparency mode, but CMYK nonetheless. So I'm going to go press quality. So that's good, and it will open up like so. I'm just going to save it into that same folder. So make sure that we keep everything together. So DPS, as I think that's what we called it. And there it is, DPS 2 folder. I'll double click on this. And really, I don't want the last one there. I want to replace it anyway. So I'm going to go Save, replace it. Great. Now this is where we do a little bit of magic here. We want to go down here and make sure that everything's correct in terms of the output. So I'm just going in this transparency mode. It's 1.4 or Acrobat 5. It gives it transparency within this press quality. Now let's see if we go down to compression here, we see that we have 300 DPI images, which actually should have been done anyway when you brought them in, your Photoshop files, but nonetheless it's going to keep them and output them as that 300. Perfect. Let's go to marks and bleeds here. We want all printers marks because we're doing the artwork, and of course we want to get our bleed, use document bleed, which is 3 millimeters here, so that's perfect. Now there is some other things here in the output, not going to worry about these too much, etc. But this is doing a great job for you. There's even security when we want to have, if you're working on something very secretive and it will need a password to open up, but we don't want to do that. So, and of course, just a summary at the end, and it'll just take you through all the setups, including your output, and see it says output here, CMYK. So I'm not worried about these things as long as we've done our marks and bleed here, and we're certainly in the right compression, which was 300. So let's just go export and see what we're going to get. Now there's one other thing before we do that. I'm just going to go back to general here. We want to keep this as a center spread and not have it as separate pages. So all we need to do is go back under general here and just click on spreads. And that's it. So if I just go export now, it's going to export, it's going to save into that same folder. And if I just go and bring that folder up, you see there's this icon and it actually changed now. So if I just double click on it, and it's about to open up, just in the mode there. No, that's better. And as you can see, we've got all of our artwork. It's nicely put together. It is in CMYK mode, but we'll have a little bit more demonstration working with press quality with Acrobat later on. The point was to get this into the right format and the artwork's all ready to go with our bleed and everything. So congratulations if you've got your artwork finished. It's good to go and good to submit, or add some text in there if you want to do your own text now. But you know how to do it. Okay, so thank you for watching.